What is up guys, I'm Uriza. This story is all about what if Naruto became a villain. Naruto becomes the villain everyone in the village always thought he would be. Only one person will risk everything to try and redeem him. His best and most loyal friend, Uchiha Sasuke. Before we proceed with the story, please like and subscribe to this channel if you liked the video and don't forget to check the description for the other works of the author if you liked the story. Let's start. Chapter 17, The First Hook. So how are you feeling, Naruto? The Hokage asked as he sat down at his bedside. Seeing the Hokage's concern gave Naruto a warm feeling. I'm feeling just fine, old man. I'm ready to get back to the exams. Oh ho. Sounds like you've recovered just fine then. A new voice said. A man with spiky white hair and red lines drawn down from his eyes entered the room. Who are you? Naruto asked. For just a second there was a suspicious look in Naruto's eyes. One he had often seen in a former teammate's. He decided not to give any reaction to it though. A spymaster knew how to keep secrets after all. Me? I'm Jiraiya, and yes, before you ask, I'm that Jiraiya. The one and only Toad Sage, member of the Sunin, and author extraordinaire. Never heard of you, Naruto said flatly. Jiraiya fell face forward. You really should have paid more attention to your lessons, Naruto, the Hokage said, scolding slightly. Jiraiya is a former student of mine and was a teammate to the person you fought in the forest. He is actually rather famous for being not only one of the three ninja of legend but the sensei to the Yondaime Hokage. You were the Yondaime's sensei? Naruto asked. He flashed him a huge smile. Any chance you could maybe show me a thing or two? Sorry kid, my teaching days are long in the past. I asked Jiraiya here because he is, among his other talents, a seal master. Given the events that occurred in Hikdo, I wanted him to check on you. So he, knows about that? Naruto asked. Sasuke and the others had been asked to leave, so it was just the three of them in his room. Yeah, I know kid, there's no need to worry, I've got experience in keeping secrets. Like the old man said, I was called in to check on your seal. Given what happened to you, it's really lucky I was already available. What do you mean? Do you know what happened to you out there? I lost a fight, Naruto admitted unhappily. It was a bit more serious than just losing a fight, Naruto, the Hokage said. The person you faced was Orochimaru, also a former student of mine and a Sunin. That you and your teammates even survived the encounter speaks very highly of all of you. Wait a minute, why would an elite ninja be taking the Chunin exams? He wasn't taking them, Naruto, the Hokage said. He had infiltrated them in order to approach Sasuke. But apparently he found you to be more interesting. Jiraiya said. Naruto snorted. Well, that's a first. This is no joking matter, Naruto. During your encounter he placed 2 seals on you, including a curse seal whose purpose we don't understand. The Hokage said. Naruto rubbed the seal at the base of his neck. Yeah, now that you mention it, I do remember that freak biting me. It hurt like hell. He looked a bit worried. So I have another seal on me? And you don't know what it does? You have 2 new seals on you, kid, but the other one is no big deal. As for the other, we may not know what it does exactly, but you can bet it's nothing good. You very nearly died last night because the effects of that seal had your chakra coil system running wild. That's why if you're feeling up to it, I'm going to suppress it for you. Huh? Don't you mean remove? Unfortunately that's not an option, kid, Jiraiya said. The curse seal is somehow connected to Orochimaru's life force. That means as long as he's alive there's no way to permanently get rid of it. The best we can do is suppress it and limit its effect on you. Naruto frowned. To be honest, it didn't seem all that bad at all. When he'd woken up he'd not only felt good, he'd felt himself bursting with energy. He was ready to take on the world. He wondered if the curse seal was really as bad as they were making it out to be. He thought he'd had some nightmares, but whatever he might have been dreaming had been forgotten. He tossed the covers of his bed aside and got out of bed. Fine, whatever, let's get this over with so I can get back to the exams. The Hokage had a relieved smile. Obviously the curse seal could not have had too much of an effect if Naruto was in such fine spirits. I am glad to see your setbacks haven't discouraged you. Naruto laughed. If I was the sort to get easily discouraged, I'd have given up on my dreams a long time ago. Keep an eye on me, old man. I'm the one who'll win this thing, no matter what. Honestly, Naruto, the Hokage said. It wouldn't surprise me if you did. You wish to change targets? Kabuto asked. Yes, I want you to get as close as you can to Naruto-kun. I want to know everything about him. And what about Sasuke? He can wait. Perhaps if I allow him to ripen a bit, he will become more interesting. Naruto is the one that matters now. I understand, Lord Orochimaru. So what do we do now? Naruto asked. Subconsciously his hand drifted to the now suppressed seal on his shoulder and rubbed it. Besides it feeling sore, he was completely fine. He was with his teammates just outside the tower. There was a fenced-off area of 200 yards surrounding the tower. This was a secure zone and, supposedly, a place of safety. There's not much we can do, Sasuke said. This is only the second day of the test, we have to wait 3 more days for the second phase to be over. Until then we're pretty much on our own. The only rules are we can't leave the tower grounds and we can't fight with the other teams. Can we do some training then? Sakura grinned. After what you went through, you already want to work out again. Are you sure you feel up to it, Naruto? You were really hurt. I'm fine, Sakura-chan, he assured. You know me, I always heal fast. Well, if you want we could do some light workouts, Sasuke said. But let's not use any jutsus and nothing above basic taijutsu. There are 2 other teams here, no reason to give anything away. Naruto nodded. To be honest, he wasn't too worried what anyone might see. According to the old man, the person he'd fought was considered one of the most powerful ninja in the world. He had lost, but held his own during the brief fight. He had no doubts he would be more than a match for anyone who really was just a genin. As he and his team were discussing what sort of workout to have, they noticed Team 8 leave the tower. Specifically, Kiba and Shino were carting Hinata in the air between them, each holding her up by one arm. Kiba-kun, Shino-kun, please don't do this, a red-faced Hinata cried. Sorry Hinata, but it's for your own good. Kiba said with a smirk. Shino nodded. We both feel you have been distracted since Naruto's arrival. We feel this course of action most likely to restore your full focus. But this is so embarrassing. She wailed. Kiba laughed. Right, and passing out every time he talks to you isn't. Naruto and his teammates watched as Hinata was brought before them and set down right in front of Naruto. Hinata has something she wants to ask you, Naruto, Kiba said. Oh okay, what is it, Hinata-chan? Her scent was nothing but raw fear and panic. Not that he needed her scent to tell him that. Her face was as red as a tomato and she was pressing her fingers together like mad. I was. She wants to know if you'd have a picnic with her, Kiba announced. Kiba. Sorry Hinata, but I sort of have plans for the next hour. While Hinata is aware your first date was scheduled for after the exams were complete, she is anxious to spend time with you since you were so seriously hurt. Therefore she was hoping you would be agreeable to having your first date now. Shino said in his usual unemotional voice. That is so sweet. Sakura cooed excitedly. Even Sasuke found it amusing. Well, that's one way to spend your free time. Hey Naruto, Kiba said. Think you could answer before she passes out. You don't need to. I was just. Hinata struggled. A picnic sounds great, Hinata-chan. Hinata froze and stared at him. Really? Sure. I mean, we both have some free time, and what guy wouldn't like to have a picnic with a cutie like you? Don't faint. Don't faint. Don't faint. I could get some sandwiches from the cafeteria. I'm so sorry, but I can't cook for you here. No problem, Hinata-chan, I'll wait until our next date to taste your cooking. Next date. Equal measures of panic and excitement shot through her system. Please wait, Naruto-kun. I'll go and get the sandwiches. She took off, running back to the tower, afraid he might change his mind. Sakura giggled. Now there's a girl who has it bad. She looked shyly over at Sasuke. I really envy her, the boy she likes actually pays attention to her. HN. Hey Naruto, while she's not around I want to make something real clear to you, Kiba said. Hinata's a real nice girl and her feelings for you are totally genuine. So if you do anything to break her heart I'll break your head. Got it? Akamaru barked angrily and Shino nodded. Ah, I would never do anything to hurt her, Naruto said. Just the opposite, I plan on keeping her close to me from now on. Hinata couldn't believe that she was finally on a date with Naruto-kun. It wasn't quite what she'd imagined, no candlelight, no soft music, and the meal was nothing but some sandwiches and tea from a thermos. But Naruto was here beside her and he was paying attention to her. That was plenty to make her dream come true. Thank you Naruto-kun, she said in a small sincere voice once the food was gone and they were just sitting there in the grass. Huh? Thanks for what Hinata-chan? I didn't do anything. Yes you did. You agreed to have this picnic with me even though I'm nothing special. What are you talking about Hinata-chan? You're like a princess. Everyone in the whole village acknowledges you. Me? I'm the village outcast, the one everyone hates or ignores. If anybody should be grateful here it should be me. I mean come on, I'm really not the sort of guy you belong with. That's not so. I've watched you for a long time Naruto-kun. I've seen how hard you've struggled. I've seen you practice until you dropped from exhaustion. I've seen you keep trying when no one would help you or even acknowledge you. Through it all you've never doubted yourself even for a second. I've always admired you Naruto-kun, I've always wished I could have even half as much self-confidence. Thanks Hinata-chan, he said. That means a lot to me. I'm really happy you feel that way about me, you're probably the only one in the whole village who sees me that way. He turned away from her slightly. I only wish those feelings could last. What do you mean Naruto-kun? My feelings are real. He could smell fear and confusion coming from her. I have to do this just right. He looked back at her with a set expression. I know your feelings are real Hinata-chan, I mean you wouldn't be here with me otherwise. But what happens when people find out about us? What do you mean? The entire village loves you and hates me, he said. What do you think will happen when they find out you like me? Everyone, and I do mean everyone, will tell you to get away from me. They'll probably even say things like I'm using you and don't really care about you. You'll get pressure from everywhere to stop liking me. I wouldn't care about that Naruto-kun. I know how special you are and how people have treated you. I know you've never done anything to deserve it. I don't care what anyone says about you, it wouldn't change how I feel. What about your family? How would they react to you being with me Hinata-chan? She looked down and the fear scent got suddenly stronger. Oh, so she's really worried about her family huh? My father might not approve, she said in a small voice. He waited but she said nothing else. Naruto quickly got up to his feet. I see, then I guess it's best we not have another date. What? Why? He looked down at her with soft eyes. Because I think I could really start to care for you Hinata-chan. If there's no chance we can be together it's best to just end things right here. It would hurt me too much to fall in love with you and then have you hate me like everyone else does. Naruto-kun thinks he could fall in love with me. Naruto-kun I could never hate you. You're the one I like and admire the most in this whole world. I could never feel hatred for you. Not even if your father hates me? Not even if he does everything he can to turn you against me? No. Never. She reached up to take a hold of his hand. If father feels that way I will change his mind and make him see the real you. You don't know the real me Hinata, no one does. What if he hates me no matter what? What then? Even if father hates you I never will. Promise Hinata-chan. She nodded her head vigorously. I promise. I won't let anyone change how I feel about you. Looking relieved he sank back down to sit next to her. The first hook was now firmly in place. I need to be very careful and very patient. I need her to always think it's her choice. Yosh. We are triumphant. A boy in a green leotard cried out as he and his team arrived at the tower perimeter. We have proven the power of youth. Neji gave a weary sigh. Don't get carried away, all this means is we've passed the second phase of the exams. There's still a long way to go. Holding both scrolls he headed towards the tower. Being focused on his goal he didn't notice a couple sitting on the grass talking. But Tenten did. Hey Neji, isn't that your cousin over there? In great surprise he looked over. Even without the Byakugan active he could clearly make out that it was indeed Hinata. She was sitting quite casually next to some boy he didn't recognize. What is she doing? Who is that? He changed direction in mid-step to go and confront the situation. Tenten grabbed him by the arm. Whoa Tiger! Hold on. Don't you think we should check in first and actually complete the second phase before you go and cause a scene? Anyway, it just looks like she'd being friendly with someone. What's wrong with that? There is a great deal wrong with it, Neji said stiffly. I think it is wonderful. The fires of youth are burning bright in both of them. I must congratulate them. This time both Neji and Tenten grabbed a hold of Lee before he could act. All right, Neji said in annoyance. Let's check in first and formally complete the second test. I'll have words with Lady Hinata later. Chapter 18, A Bloody Oath. The tower was large enough to allow everyone a private room. It was also big enough to allow the 4 teams who had arrived thus far to avoid each other if they wanted. Other than the cafeteria there was no other section of the building they all used in common. And since the cafeteria was kept open most of the day it was not hard for teams to arrive, eat, and depart before any of the competition arrived. The team from Suna deliberately avoided meeting any of the others. Team Guy was slightly less aloof and could be seen training both outside and in the tower's dojo. They however made no special effort to talk to anyone. Teams 7 and 8 agreed to share most meals and got along rather well. They had a sort of connection thanks to Naruto and Hinata and they did all know each other from academy days of course. Though they got along they were wary not to be too friendly. No one talked about jutsus or about their training and gave only the vaguest descriptions of what they had seen during the exams. With one exception. You guys need to stay away from the team from Suna, especially the red-haired kid. Kiba told them. Just the mention of him made Akamaru begin to whimper and crawl inside his master's coat. Naruto couldn't help but grin. What's the matter? You sound scared. If you'd seen what he did to the mist nins he ran into you'd be scared too. Naruto lifted a single eyebrow. Kiba had been in his class for only 1 year and he didn't really know him that well. But he had certainly never seemed to be the sort to admit when an enemy scared him. Kiba-kun is right Naruto, Hinata said. He killed 3 ninja all by himself using sand. 1 he played with and killed when he was helpless, the other 2 after they had already surrendered and given up their scroll. He slaughtered them for no reason. That's awful. Sakura said. Have you told the administrators? If he murdered them after they surrendered he should be punished. While I concur with your opinion reporting the offense would be futile, Shino said in a bland voice. How come? Sakura asked. Prior to entering the exams I researched all available material on them. Shino said. One of the rules the villages all adhere to is that a candidate may not be punished for anything that occurs in the course of the exams, not even by his own village. The villages would not participate without that stipulation. So in other words even cold-blooded murder is okay so long as it's done during the exams. Sasuke asked. That is correct, Shino said. So please avoid him at all costs. Hinata said. Even if it means failing that's better than getting killed. Naruto shook his head slightly. Sorry Hinata-chan, I can't win the exams unless I beat the strongest out there. Hinata looked very worried. It's your funeral if you try it, Kiba said. I don't know what Theta Kid's story is, but he's deadly. On the 3rd day a team from some backwoods village arrived. Their leader had bandages covering half his face. They also avoided interacting with others. On the 4th day, to the shock of the other Leaf teams, Team 10 arrived. How the hell did you guys make it? Somehow after nearly dying to complete the 2nd stage seeing these guys here too really annoyed him. Since Sasuke was there too Ino quickly wiped her face and gave her hair a quick comb through before answering with a glowing smile. We took advantage of the opportunities provided and were able to use our incredible team abilities to successfully navigate the course successfully. It was mostly thanks to my leadership, of course. She leaned forward and batted her eyelashes. Are you impressed, Sasuke-kun? A little, he admitted. I know how hard it is to get here. But how did you do it? Naruto asked. Ino was just about to give a smug reply when Shikamaru spoke up. A guy came over to pee in the same bushes we were hiding in and I grabbed him using my jutsu. It turns out he had the scroll we needed. Then we ran here as fast as we could, Choji added between handfuls of chips. We got here without running into anyone. An amused grin touched Sasuke's lips. So in other words, you succeeded through pure dumb luck. Yeah, pretty much, Shikamaru agreed. Shut up, you lazy jerk. Ino screamed and began to beat him mercilessly. On the fifth and final day of the exams, Naruto and Hinata decided to have a second picnic. Once they had eaten, Naruto decided to rest, putting his head in Hinata's lap. At first the little girl had blushed like mad and felt on the verge of collapse. Slowly though she got used to it, the more time she spent with Naruto the more she acclimated to his presence. She even began to run a hand through his spiky blonde hair a little. It still thrilled her that Naruto was willing to spend time with someone like her. The second phase ends in, what, 4 more hours? Naruto asked. Hinata checked her wristwatch and nodded. Yes, about that. Then it's on to phase 3, I guess, Naruto said. Do you think it will start right away? Since phase 2 had started immediately on the heels of phase 1, all of them were prepared for the same to happen again. I don't know, but if it does, at least we're all well rested. Yeah, he said. He shut his eyes and felt the warm sun on his face. It was a long time since he'd been so relaxed. His head resting on her lap, her finger running through his hair, her gentle scent filling his conscience. There were 100 tiny pleasures in having someone really care for you. All sorts of little secret joys that came from having a caring girlfriend like her. He was just starting to drift off when the pungent scent of fear ruined Hinata's scent. He opened his eyes and noted someone approaching them. He was a boy with dark brown shorts, a gray shirt, brown cap, and pupilless eyes that were white rather than the lilac of Hinata's. A friend of yours? He's my big brother. He slowly sat up next to her. I thought you only had a younger sister, you didn't mention a big brother. That's what I call him. He's my cousin. The closer he came, the stronger her fear scent and the more desperately she pressed her fingers together. As he neared, his scent changed too. It became tinted with fury. When his pale eyes flickered towards him, the anger scent grew noticeably stronger. He moved stiffly and came to an almost rigid stance before them. He opened his mouth to speak, but before he could, Naruto leapt to his feet. Hi. Pleased to meet you. I'm Uzumaki Naruto, who are you? He stuck his hand out with the biggest, cheesiest grin he could manage. The boy stared at him in disbelief, his eyes flickered contemptuously at the outstretched hand. I am Hyuga Neji, he said without making a move to shake hands. Naruto deliberately kept his hand out. Isn't it considered really rude not to shake someone's hand when it's extended to you? I would have expected someone from the Hyuga clan to have better manners than that. The boy's eyes expanded, obviously not believing what he'd just heard. What did you just say to me? Naruto kept his big happy smile shining. I said you're being rude by not shaking my hand. Does being a Hyuga make you too good for common courtesies? Hinata was on her feet between them, her eyes fearfully darting from one to the other. Naruto, please. You obviously don't know your proper place, Neji said coldly. Handshakes are for equals. Naruto still had his hand out waiting. Well then, what's the problem? We are equals. You think you're my equal? Neji asked with a look of disgust. Sure. We're both genin of the Hidden Leaf Village, that makes us equals. Idiot. I am a member of the cadet branch of the Hyuga clan. While not as lofty as some, he sent Hinata a look that made her shrink back. That still makes me of infinitely greater importance than some worthless orphan. Now Naruto drew back his hand. Yeah, a lot of people think that way. But I don't really care what a person's last name is or where they come from. I only ever judge people for who they are. For instance, even though you and Hinata-chan are both from the same clan, I think the world of her while you're just a rude jerk. Neji clenched his jaw and tightened his fists. I think you need to be taught some respect. What a coincidence. I was thinking the exact same thing. The two boys stared each other down. UCA, can't fight here. Hinata said pleadingly. If you fight you'll be expelled from the exams. That's true, Neji admitted and focused his attention on her. You should come with me, Lady Hinata. People will get the wrong impression if you continue to spend time alone with someone who is so far below you. I don't think Naruto-kun is below me. I am very happy to spend time with him. I see, Neji replied. I wonder what your father will think of this. In any case, since you seem to be so content, I will leave you be for now. He sent Naruto a last look before leaving. Well, he was pleasant. Naruto-kun, please don't make Neji your enemy. Don't worry, Hinata-chan, I won't hurt him much. But he might hurt you. He's considered a prodigy and is very powerful. He placed a warm hand on her cheek. You don't need to worry about me, Hinata-chan, I can take care of myself. With just over an hour remaining, one final team made it in. It was a Leaf squad that included Kabuto. The second phase is now complete with 21 successful applicants from 7 teams. Anko announced. As per the rules, we will be having a preliminary round prior to the third phase. The second phase is now officially complete. The Hokage nodded. Very well, let us continue the exams as scheduled. We will keep an eye out for Orochimaru. Assemble the teams. Yes, Anko answered. Please go out with me. I swear I will protect you with my life. Sakura froze. A weird boy with ridiculously thick eyebrows and a green leotard was standing in front of her. She nervously looked about at all the others in the underground arena. Are you talking to me? Yes. The boy cried out in ecstasy. You are a beautiful pink-haired angel come to earth. Naruto just couldn't resist. You're in luck. She doesn't have a boyfriend, and I know for a fact she likes dark-haired guys with really bad hairstyles. Really? Sakura sent him a look of betrayal. Before the thick-browed kid could say anything more, a girl with her hair in 2 buns grabbed him by the collar. Lee. Stop flirting and come on. But Tenten. Now. She dragged him off even as he struggled. Thanks a lot. Sakura said, glaring at Naruto. Hey, he said innocently. I was just trying to get you a date. Quiet down you two, Sasuke said. It looks like the Hokage is going to speak. Along the railing at the front of the arena were the Hokage, Jiraiya, the examiners, and all the team senseis. The Hokage congratulated all of them for passing the second phase and began to talk about the meaning of the exams when a sickly-looking ninja leapt down to the arena floor. Pardon me, Hokage-sama, but as third phase proctor, please allow me, Gekkou Hayate, to proceed from this point. The Hokage nodded his consent and the pale ninja turned around to face the applicants. Hello everyone, I am Hayate. Before we can proceed toward a third phase, I am afraid we are going to have a preliminary to see who will be allowed to participate. What do you mean? Ino shouted. We all passed, why shouldn't we all get to participate? Well, while I don't mean to say the first 2 tests were easy, too many of you have passed. The finals will be a major event attended by many very important people. For that reason it's important that the action be kept fast-flowing. Too many bouts would slow things down, therefore we are going to have a series of 1-to-1 fights to determine who is really qualified to continue. The news was not well received and an unhappy murmur rose. Naruto's mouth remained firmly shut, his eyes were up on the Hokage. I don't care what it takes, I am not going to lose. Watch me, old man. I'm going to show you how far I've come. Before we begin, are there any of you who wish to resign? From here on out you will be competing as individuals, so you have no duty to your teammates and can decide to continue or not solely for your own reasons. Kabuto casually leaned over to one of his teammates and whispered something. The man turned to stare at him. Despite having dark spectacles and a black veil over most of his face, he was clearly upset by whatever it was that had been said. Kabuto simply mouthed the word, "Obey." The man swallowed and slowly raised his hand. I wish to quit, he announced bitterly. Hayate scanned a clipboard in his hand. You're Akadu Yorawi? Alright, you can go. The man walked away with his head down, clearly unhappy. Odd, the Hokage thought. He'd noted the slight interaction with Kabuto. What happened there? Anyone else? Hayate asked. No one else offered to quit. Very well, we will immediately begin a series of 10 1-to-1 fights. The winners will move on to the finals while the losers will be eliminated. There are basically no rules. The fight continues until one of you dies or is knocked out or admits defeat. If you don't want to die, then quickly acknowledge you are beaten. Since we don't want a bloodbath, I will intervene if I believe the winner has been clearly decided, but don't count on me. For your own safety, give up as soon as you feel yourself being overwhelmed. Above them was a loud, whirring sound as a massive screen slid out of the wall. The screen up there will list 2 names pulled at random announcing the next match. While it is a bit abrupt, we will now begin with the first match. All eyes looked up as the screen came to life. 2 names were outlined in electric light. Uchiha Sasuke vs. Yakushi Kabuto. I want the combatants to remain, everyone else please exit the arena floor. Right off the bat, huh? Sasuke looked over to the silver-haired teenager. They'd met just before the start of the exams. This is the 7th time he's been in the exams, he can't be that strong if it's taken him this long to get here. Kick his ass, Sasuke, Naruto said enthusiastically. Good luck, Sasuke-kun. Sakura told him. Try not to get killed, Kakashi said as he accompanied his other 2 students to the stairs. Sasuke ignored that and turned to face a friendly Kabuto. Let's do our best, Sasuke. He nodded. Right. Standing between them, Hayate made a signal. Begin. Sasuke ran through some hand signs. He would try not to use lethal force, but he wanted to end this fight as fast as he could. Katon Gokakyu no Jutsu. From out of his mouth he spewed a giant ball of fire and sent it rolling towards his opponent. Sasuke wasn't sure, but he thought Kabuto looked pleased at having a mass of fire coming at him. There was a sudden puff of smoke and Kabuto vanished just as the fireball rolled past. Sasuke hadn't bothered to activate his Sharingan at the start, thinking it would be an easy victory. He shut his eyes and opened them again with it active. He looked about the arena floor and into the air but did not find a sign of him. Just a second too late he recalled that the Sharingan could not see into the earth. Kabuto leapt out of the arena floor and Sasuke jumped back. He was quick enough to avoid Kabuto's touch, but there was a green chakra extending about a foot from each of his hands. One of these sliced into his right shoulder. He felt an instant sharp pain, and though his arm had been cut off, looking, he was relieved to see it was still hanging there from his shoulder. There was no wound, he could see no blood, but he could no longer feel his right arm. You should resign the match, Sasuke, Kabuto said. My chakra scalpel has severed all the nerves in your shoulder. That arm's useless to you now. You won't be able to make any more jutsus and you'll have to fight with one arm. Sasuke knew that was true, his right arm was just dead weight now. But there's no way I'd ever just give up. With his left arm he took out a kunai and did the only thing he could. He charged straight in. With no jutsus, his only chance was to try and get close and rely on the Sharingan and his fighting ability to somehow overwhelm his opponent. Kabuto grinned and faced him with his chakra blades. Sasuke's eyes told him where the attacks were coming, but it didn't help him. He learned something, that knowing where an attack was coming from did you no good at all if your body was not fast enough and strong enough to react to it. Kabuto neatly and easily hit him in the other shoulder and above both knees. Sasuke toppled to the floor, unable to get up or even raise a hand. Winner Kabuto, Hayate announced. Wails rose from both Ino and Sakura. I can't believe Sasuke-kun lost. Sakura said. It's a real shame, Kakashi said. I honestly thought he had a good chance of making it clear to the finals. Still, it's an outstanding accomplishment to get this far on your first try. He nodded to the 2 of them. It's up to you 2 now, do your very best. Naruto and Sakura both nodded. Meanwhile, Kabuto helped the medic nins by reversing the effects of his chakra blades. After only a few minutes, Sasuke was at the railing with his team. Head bowed but otherwise unharmed. There's no reason to sulk, Sasuke, Kakashi said. You did very well and I am proud of you. You'll definitely make Chunin next time, Sakura said. Naruto looked over at the depressed boy. Hey Teme. What dope? If you want I'll let you hold my Chunin vest after I win. Idiot. They watched the other matches. The Sashino eventually wear down a foreign ninja named Zaku by using his bugs to drain him of his chakra while he dodges the powerful blasts from his arms. They saw the puppet master Kankuro take down Kabuto's remaining teammate. And then it was Sakura's turn. Yamanaka Ino vs. Haruno Sakura. The two girls faced each other. Sakura removed her hitite from about her hair and tied it around her forehead. Smirking Ino did the same. Is this supposed to mean you're serious forehead? Yeah Ino I'm serious, Sakura said. I'm not a kid anymore, I'm a ninja. Let's have a serious fight, ninja to ninja. Fine by me, Ino said. You've never been able to beat me in anything but book reading. You won't beat me now either. We'll see. Hayate signaled. Begin. As Ino dropped back Sakura performed a jutsu. Ino was caught by surprise as her feet sank into the arena floor up to her knees. Hey! What is this? The floor changed from mud back to solid stone and Ino was trapped. Try as she might she could not pull free. Sakura raced up from behind and yanked her head back with a handful of ponytail and put a kunai to her throat. It's over Ino. Proctor please call the match. Hayate nodded. Because Ino has been rendered helpless the winner is Sakura. Naruto burst into wild cheers as Sasuke and Kakashi and Sasuke both clapped. Ino stared in disbelief at Sakura. How the hell did you learn such a powerful earth jutsu? It's not an earth jutsu Ino, it was just a low-level genjutsu. Sakura cancelled the effect and Ino found herself standing on the unchanged arena floor. If you'd bothered to learn how to negate a genjutsu or at least spot one you might have won. Maybe it's time for you to really train at being a ninja before you get killed. She walked away with her head held high. Up on the railing Asuma bowed his head in shame. Alright, next practice session I am teaching all of you how to dispel a genjutsu. The fifth match was a beating where Temari rooted and outmatched Tenten. Shikamaru then managed to defeat Kin by forcing her to slam her own head into the arena wall. Shikamaru got to the finals? Shikamaru. Naruto said in disbelief. I work my butt off to be the best while he barely even tries and he manages to win. I wouldn't worry about that Naruto, Kakashi said as he pointed to the screen. Uzumaki Naruto vs. Inuzuka Kiba. Great, why'd it have to be Kiba? There a problem? Kakashi asked. I was kind of hoping to fight Neji, Naruto explained. I actually kind of like Kiba and he's Hinata's teammate. You can't let any of that hold you back Naruto. Kakashi said. We are ninja, we don't allow personal feelings to get in the way of the mission. You need to take this fight seriously and not hold back. That's right Naruto. Sakura said. You need to go get him. Yeah, of course, hey it's just his tough luck I guess. Hey Dobe, Sasuke said as he was about to leap down. What Teme? The Uchiha flashed him a rare smile. Don't lose. Naruto grinned back. Pfft, like that could happen. Down on the arena floor Hayate signaled for them to start. Kiba, you should concede, Naruto said. Don't get all cocky. I'm not Hinata, I won't faint if you get near me. Up on the railing Hinata blushed as Kurenai chuckled silently. Naruto shrugged. I'll try not to be too rough, he performed hand signs and deliberately called on some extra power. He wanted to impress the old man who was watching. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. As he cast the jutsus he felt a hot stabbing pain come from his shoulder. He slapped a hand over the curse seal. Ugh, what the hell was that? The arena floor was covered in a thick pall of smoke. He'd been drawing on just a little of the Kyuubi's chakra planning to make 200 clones. When the smoke cleared though he realized he's made 500. They packed the entire arena floor and spilled over to the walls where they used chakra to attach themselves. The change didn't really matter and it certainly looked impressive to the Hokage and everyone else watching. The clones fell on poor Kiba who had no hope of beating them off. They didn't hit him though. Having him so completely outnumbered, they settled for simply piling on and holding him down until Naruto could be declared the winner. Everyone assumed the jutsu had worked exactly as he'd intended. Sasuke and Sakura both cheered loudly as Kakashi clapped. "Looks like I'll be busy getting two of you ready for the exams." As Naruto headed up the stairs, he continued to rub his shoulder. Jiraiya and the Hokage both noticed. "Damn it, I can't believe it ended that way," Kiba said angrily. "I'm sorry, Kiba-kun," Hinata said. "You have nothing to feel sorry about, Kiba," Kurenai told him. "You were beaten by a stronger enemy, that is all." "I'm going to definitely need to get stronger," Kiba muttered. Up on the screen the next pairing was announced. Hyuga Neji vs. Hyuga Hinata. The moment she saw it, Hinata shuddered. "Hinata, forfeit the match," Kiba said. "What? Kiba, what are you saying?" Kurenai demanded. "Sensei, you know that Neji will be merciless towards her." He looked at Hinata. "Hinata, I believe in you, but you're not his equal. If you fight him, he really might kill you." Kurenai frowned. She knew of the hard feelings that lay just beneath the surface in that clan. But the idea Neji would try and go that far. "It is your choice, Hinata, you can fight or not fight. It is entirely up to you." She looked across the way to where Naruto was waving to her. "Kick his ass, Hinata-chan. I believe in you." "Naruto-kun. I'll fight," she said. "Begin." Hayate said. Neji activated his Byakugan. "Lady Hinata, withdraw from this match." What? I said withdraw from this match," Neji repeated, his anger mounting. "You are a complete and utter disgrace to the Hyuga name. The thought that you are technically the clan heir sickens me." "What did that bastard say?" Naruto gripped the iron railing and felt his temperature rise. He normally didn't care what happened to others. But seeing this happen to Hinata was different. What? You should give up on being a ninja entirely and just marry some rich lord and make babies. As a shinobi, you are utterly hopeless. You are too kind. You wish for harmony and avoid conflict. You follow others, never even trying to impose your own will. You are completely lacking in every area of a competent ninja." "That bastard," Naruto muttered. Without noticing, the iron rail began to twist and bend within his grip. "And if that's not enough, you disgrace yourself by associating with someone who is completely beneath you. Uzumaki Naruto is a worthless pariah and unworthy of even speaking to Hyuga. That you should actually enjoy his company is disgusting." "Stop it!" Hinata screamed at him. Neji halted his verbal attack, too shocked by her outburst to continue his train of thought. "Stop saying such horrible things about Naruto-kun. You don't even know him. I have been watching him for a long time and I know his real worth. He's brave and courageous, and no matter what he suffers, he never gives up. He's the kind of person I've always wanted to be, and I wish I could have even half the courage he's always had. Stop saying it's a disgrace for me to be with him. When I'm with him, I feel like I can do anything. He makes me believe I can be better than who I am now, that I can change and be more like him." "Is that what you believe?" Neji said coldly. "That you can change? Don't delude yourself, Hinata, people don't change. We are each born with an unchangeable destiny that is as set in the stars in the heavens. You are a weakling, Hinata, that is all you have ever been, all you will ever be, and all you can ever be. Accept your limitations and stop dreaming of changes that will never happen." "Shut up, you idiot!" Naruto shouted from the balcony. "What the hell do you know about what people can or can't be? The only one who can decide that is Hinata herself. If she wants it bad enough, I believe she can be anything she wants. People aren't stars, you moron. And even if they were, didn't anyone ever tell you that stars can sometimes shoot across the sky? There is no destiny. There is no fate. All destiny is an excuse losers like you like to use when they don't get what they want. If you are not happy with what you have, then work to change it, but don't attack Hinata for it. I believe in her. She's worth 100, no 1,000 like you any day." Beneath his grip, metal rail snapped and broke. "Naruto-kun." Hinata activated her Byakugan and dropped into the Gyuken fighting stance. "Big brother Neji, let's fight." He turned from Naruto to face her. He too dropped into the stance. All right Hinata, I'll show you your destiny. It was no match. Hinata fought him as hard as she could and landed a few blows. But where her attacks were desperate, his were coordinated and perfectly carried out. He shut her chakra points down one after another, slowing her, and weakening her. And damaging her organs. He delivered a last strike right above her heart. Failure, he said, his voice ringing with contempt. Hinata felt her heart stop and blood spurted from her mouth and nose as she pitched forward and fell. Neji walked away from her without a look back. Medics! Hayate shouted. Kiba, Kurenai, and Shino rushed to her side and medic nins performed emergency treatment and strapped her to a gurney. Kurenai sent Neji a murderous look. He really was trying to kill her. Rather than glaring at me, you should worry about getting her treatment. Kurenai and her team followed the medic nins as they took her to receive emergency surgery. As Hinata was taken away, Neji saw Naruto was down on the arena floor. His blue eyes were staring at him with a monstrous intensity. I bet you want to kill me right now, don't you? The only reason I don't kill you right now is because the old man is watching and I don't think he would forgive me. Reaching down, he put his fingers into a small pool of Hinata's blood. But I swear on her blood that I will kill you, Hyuga Neji. That's your destiny now. Chapter 19, Hospital Visit. The three of them were sitting at Ichiraku's talking about what had happened and about what they were facing. I can't believe that Gaara kid did that to poor Lee. Sakura said. I mean, I didn't like him hitting on me, but he didn't deserve what happened to him. Sasuke nodded. Kiba wasn't kidding about him being deadly. If Lee's sensei hadn't intervened, he probably would have been killed. As it is, they say he'll likely never recover enough to be a ninja again. Why did he have to take it that far though? Sakura asked. He could have won the match without hurting Lee like that. Well, at least you know not to expect any sort of mercy from him, Sasuke said. He was a little worried about what would happen if either of his teammates had to face that sociopath. The final would be held in 1 month's time and the matches were already set. Naruto would face Neji, Gaara would face Kabuto, Shino would face Kankuro, Shikamaru would face Temari, and Sakura would face Dosa. When the 5 winners were determined, they would draw lots to decide who would get a bye and who would face who in the second round. Having seen what Naruto was capable of, he wasn't too worried about him. But he didn't know what Sakura would do. Stupid, Naruto muttered as he swirled the contents of his bowl with his chopsticks. For probably the first time ever, he had no appetite for ramen. What was that? Sasuke asked. I said it was stupid to expect mercy from anyone, Naruto said. Gaara and Neji fought to the extreme limit and didn't care what they did to their opponents. That's what we have to expect from others and what we have to be willing to do ourselves. I'm sure not everyone would fight like that. Sakura said. Oh yeah? The guy Kankuro was fighting was ready to snap his neck to win. Kankuro broke most of his bones in return. Temari was every bit as brutal with Tenten, even if her injuries weren't as severe. The other matches didn't turn out as bloody, but that's no guarantee for the finals. You have to expect the worst. Sakura looked at him worriedly. Is that how you plan to fight Naruto-kun? Yeah, I won't hold anything back. Especially not against Neji. Naruto, Sakura began nervously. About what you said to Neji. You didn't really mean it, did you? Yeah, I did, Sakura, I mean every word. But if he wants to take revenge for what was done to someone he cares about, he has that right, Sasuke said. Sakura looked unhappily over at Sasuke. Even after all their time together in the academy and on the same team, she still knew very little about him. For instance, the certain man he meant to kill. She had no clue who he might be or what he had done. What she had come to realize though was that he was completely serious about it. She really didn't like having both her teammates obsessing about revenge. But what good will come of it? Naruto, do you really think Hinata would want you to kill her cousin even after what he did to her? I mean, do you really think killing him will make things any better for you? Of course not, Naruto said bitterly. I'm sure that my killing one of the high and mighty Hyuga will only make my life harder. No matter how much he may deserve it, the villagers will just see the loser outcast killing one of their precious clan geniuses. Then why do you want to kill him? Sakura asked. Because he tried to take away something very precious to me and I can't forgive that. Sasuke slowly nodded in perfect understanding. The conversation between them died down after that as they found trouble coming up with things to say. What's with this heavy atmosphere? Kakashi asked as he strolled into the restaurant. Two of you have made it all the way to the finals while all three of you reached at least the preliminaries of the third stage. You should all be celebrating, especially you since you won't be getting much downtime from here on out. All three students looked at him apprehensively. Okay, what are you going to do to us now? Naruto asked. I want all three of you to meet me at the gate tomorrow morning at 8 sharp. I've just gotten permission from the Hokage to take you to a really desolate spot I know outside the village. For the next month we are going to do some very high-level intensive training to get Naruto and Sakura ready for the finals and give them the best possible chance to make Chunin. What about me? Sasuke asked. I plan this to be a really brutal training session, Kakashi said with a hidden smile. I wouldn't want you to miss out on that. Misery does love company. As long as it helps me get stronger, Sasuke said. Is there any word on Hinata? Naruto asked with a low intensity. She's out of surgery now and the doctors have declared her stable. Naruto tossed some money on the count and got off his stool. I'll see you all tomorrow. Naruto its way past visiting hours. Kakashi called after him. Like I care. There was something very important he needed to say to her before he left. So you are unconcerned by this situation? Sarutobi asked. What is there to be concerned about? Hyuga Hayashi retorted. Your daughter was very nearly killed by her own cousin. Kurenai snapped. Doesn't that worry you? The man turned to her with his cold gaze. That was the result of her own weakness. If she cannot defeat a member of the cadet branch, that only proves her inferiority. The weak are of no concern to the Hyuga. You arrogant, self-righteous. Enough Kurenai, Sarutobi said. You have brought your concerns to Hayashi, you can go now. But please depart Kurenai, there is nothing more for you to say. For your own sake do not make an enemy of him. Yes, Hokage-sama, she sent Hayashi a last glance before leaving the Hokage's office. Rather emotional, isn't she? Hayashi stated. Is she really qualified to lead a squad? I feel she is more than qualified, the Hokage said as he calmly lit his pipe. And since it is my decision to make, she shall continue to do so. Certainly, Hayashi said politely. There is the other matter, Sarutobi said. I felt it only proper you be made aware of it. It does not concern me, Hayashi replied. Oh? A threat against Neji's life doesn't concern you. Death is an expected part of any ninja's existence. There are always deaths during these exams, and this year's have proven no exception. A ninja who is afraid of death is of no worth. I agree of course that every ninja must make peace with the fact that death can come at any time. However, it is a different matter when someone openly seeks it. Uzumaki Naruto, Hayashi said slowly. Neji explained to me the reason behind his anger at my nephew. That my daughter would choose to associate with someone so far beneath her does not speak well of her. Naruto is a fine boy and will become an exceptional ninja and leader on E-Day. I have no doubt of it. That is your opinion, Hokage-sama, but I note it is one that is not shared by many others. Others don't truly know him, they only know what lies within him. Sarutobi said. When I look at Naruto I see an unlimited potential. Hayashi nodded. I heard the very same words spoken of Orochimaru and Namikaze Minato. So one must wonder what he will do with this vast potential. In any case, I have faith that Neji can handle himself. Sarutobi puffed on his pipe slowly. I see, well, it's not as if I can expel Naruto simply for making a threat, even if it is against a fellow Leaf Nin. If I allow ninja who deliberately kill or attempt to kill, I can hardly punish a ninja who simply makes the threat. Tell me, Hayashi, if Naruto really were to kill him, what would you do? Do you really think I would seek vengeance against the boy? No, the Hokage replied. Yet I would like to hear the actual words. Hayashi nodded. I give you word, Hokage-sama, I will not seek any type of retribution against Uzumaki Naruto should he kill Neji. I am very sorry, young man, the old nurse said rigidly. But visiting hours are over. Please return tomorrow. I'm not going to be here tomorrow, Naruto said with mounting frustration. Please, I just want to see her for a few minutes. The nurse was giving him a dark and ugly look he was all too familiar with. That would be impossible. Naruto slowly clenched his fists. Because Konoha Hospital often held sick or wounded ninja, it had far more security than most places. If he got caught sneaking into Hinata's room, he would definitely get in trouble. So what? I covered the Hokage monument in graffiti and didn't get in trouble. I bet the old man will just bring me to his office and lecture me. Screw you, he said and walked past reception towards the elevators. The old woman turned red and picked up a phone. I'll have the Umbu arrest you. Now, no need for anything so drastic, a friendly voice called. The nurse looked up. Oh. Kabuto-san. It's so good to see you. This boy was just about to. He was wanting to see Hyuga Hinata, wasn't he? The nurse nodded. I know it's a bit late, but would you mind just looking the other way for a bit? It would mean a lot to me. Oh, well, if it's for you, I suppose it would be all right. Thank you, Kabuto said with his open smile. I'll escort him just to make sure there's no trouble. Could you tell me what her room number is? She is in room number 420. The two of them were riding up the elevator in a strained silence. I didn't need any help, Naruto said as the doors opened. Well, it's much easier to do something with permission than without. Don't you think? I've never really worried too much about getting permission. Naruto looked up at the taller boy curiously. How did you manage that, by the way? You somebody important? No, but my dad is. He's one of Konoha's chief medical officers. He's trained me as a medic nin and I occasionally work here under his supervision. Must be nice having someone important to watch out for you. Kabuto raised an eyebrow. Well, as far as that goes, don't you have the Hokage looking after you? Yeah, I guess I do, Naruto admitted. Anyway, why did you help me just now? Because you seemed to be in need of it, and because I'd like us to be friends. Why? Naruto demanded. You know what I am, right? I'm not the sort to blame someone for something that wasn't their fault. I've noticed the guts you've shown to get this far even with half the village spitting on you. I admire that kind of courage and I'd like to help you and be a friend. Naruto didn't trust him. He'd often heard people say things like that to him, only to hurt him as soon as he opened up. And there was just something about this guy that set his teeth on edge. You pick a weird time to try and be friends, Naruto said. Since we're both in the finals, we might have to face each other. If that happens, will you take a dive to help me along? Of course not, Kabuto said with an easy laugh. I have my pride as a ninja after all. But maybe there are other things I could help you with. They came to the door marked 420. Go in and see your friend for as long as you like, I'll wait out here. Naruto nodded slightly. Thanks. Her chest was wrapped in bandages. Her arms were covered in ugly bruises and there was an 4 in her left one. A heart monitor gave out a slow and steady beep as she lay there unconscious and oblivious to the world around her. Naruto came to the side of her bed and looked down at her sleeping face. Even with being unconscious, she looked like she was in pain. He stood there, just looking at her in silence for about 5 minutes. Then he leaned down and whispered in her ear. You belong to me? With that he turned around and left her room. Chapter 20, Destiny. All right gang, I think that's enough, Kakashi announced. Soundlessly all 3 of his students dropped to the ground. The past month had been hell. None of them had ever imagined what Sensei could be like when he got truly serious. He'd taken them to a desolate spot in the middle of nowhere and proceeded to work them to death. He'd forced they climb cliff faces and to run with backpacks filled with rocks. He'd spent long grueling sessions sparring with each of them until their bodies were covered in bruises. He'd made them run laps along the roofs of caverns upside down to improve their chakra control. And he'd also taught them each a jutsu. Sasuke learned the Chidori, which was ideal for a Shari non-user. Naruto had been taught Rasengan, an advanced jutsu that normally required years to master. Thanks to using hundreds of shadow clones for hours each day, he'd managed to master it in just a month. Sakura had learned a higher level genjutsu from a scroll. Unfortunately, Kakashi had never acquired any of a high level, and so she had been forced to figure it out mostly on her own. They had gotten a lot accomplished, but it had been a miserable experience. Alright, the finals are being held the day after tomorrow. We'll return to the village tomorrow morning and you'll be free for the rest of the day. Naruto and Sakura, both of you make sure to spend the day resting. Kakashi left to start a fire and make the evening meal. All three students remained on their backs looking up into the evening sky. They were all much too tired to move if they didn't have to. Why is our sensei so worthless most of the time and then a monster the rest of the time? Naruto complained wearily. Couldn't we have a normal teacher like everyone else? Haven't you heard, Dobe? Sasuke asked with a slight grin. We're special. Lucky us, Naruto said sourly. Sakura laughed softly. There was something strangely comforting in listening to the two of them bicker. It was like a sign that things were okay, that they were normal. What an amazing view, she said. You never see the stars like this back in the village. You can from the top of the Hokage monument, Naruto said. It's just like this on a clear night, it's like you could reach out and touch them. Yes, Sakura agreed. You know, this may sound dumb, but right now I'm really glad I'm here. You're right, Sakura-chan, Naruto teased. That does sound dumb. I mean it. Even though it's been hard, getting to do this with the both of you and with Sensei it makes me really happy. I feel a special bond with the two of you. Shared hardships will always build camaraderie, Sasuke said quietly. I used to listen to some of the elders in my clan talk. For them their teammates were every bit as important as family. Naruto gave that some thought. Do you think that's true? Do you think teammates can be that close? I do, Sakura said. Ino would complain all the time about how close her father was with his two teammates even after so many years. I definitely think we can become that close to each other. Sasuke was staring up into the heavens. I want that, he said. I want us to have those bonds, and for us to care about each other. Naruto looked at the other boy and grinned. Oh yeah? What happened to the emo loner who has to kill a certain man? That hadn't changed, Sasuke said. I'm still going to get powerful, I'm still going to kill him, and I'm still going to restore my clan. But I don't want to do it alone anymore. In fact, I've come to realize that trying to do it alone would only make it harder and take more time. Yeah, it is kind of good to have people you can trust, Naruto said. I just wish. What? Sasuke asked. That I'd had this sooner, back when it still mattered. Nothing, he said with a sheepish grin. For Team 7 the last night of the training session was a good one. Late the next morning they returned to the village. Kakashi reminded Naruto and Sakura of the time they would need to report to the stadium. To Sasuke he extended an invitation to attend with him. They then went their separate ways. Hinata was sitting alone on a swing in the park. For the past month she had been coming here to the park to do a little light workout on her own. Since Shino was the only one on their squad in the finals, Kurenye-sensei had been concentrating on training him. Kiba was also getting some special training from his mom and others in his clan. That left Hinata pretty much on her own. She had not received any visits from her father while in the hospital. Actually none of her family had bothered to come see her for the week she was there. She had gotten visits from her teammates and sensei, they had also been the only ones to provide her with flowers. She was glad for that. It had made her happy to see Sensei and Kiba-kun and Shino-kun cared. But she had wanted one person in particular to come and see her. Sensei had told her that Naruto and his team had left the village for some special training. So she understood why he hadn't come to see her. She swung slowly back and forth. She had no reason to be here, the doctor had warned her against strenuous exercise. And with her team unavailable all she could really do was some running and exercises anyway. She was here in the park wasting time because she didn't want to go home. Following her defeat her father wanted nothing to do with her. The other members of the clan were careful to follow his lead and so they were also cool to her, though never impolite. Hanabi was determined to supplant her as heir and treated her more as a rival than as a sister. And Neji. Neji was cruel. He never said a single word that was out of line or by itself hateful. Instead he belittled her with false words of concern and advice such as her retiring from her shinobi duties. He made it unmistakably plain that whatever their status he saw her as beneath him. For her home was the last place she wanted to go. What she wanted was to be with Naruto. She imagined going to live with him in his apartment. She thought about how wonderful it would be to be someplace she actually felt welcomed. All she wanted was to be near him, to see that smile of his and hear the sound of his voice. As she was daydreaming, a pair of arms wrapped around her. What? Instinctively she stiffened and looked about in panic. Hinata-chan, Naruto said in relief. I've missed you. Naruto-kun. When did you get back? Just a little while ago. I've been looking for you since then. Taking a deep breath he let go of her and held out a bunch of different flowers. Here, these are for you Hinata-chan, I know they're nothing special. I picked them along the way. I just wanted to give you some flowers. Flashback. Hey Sakura-chan, Naruto called as they were racing back to the village. I need some advice. About what? Well, I wanted to get Hinata some flowers. What do you think I should get? Sakura flashed him a wide grin. Just pick her some in the woods and give them to her, I guarantee she'll love them. I can't do that. She's a princess. If I just get some from the forest it'll look like I'm cheap. Sakura laughed and easily shook her head. If you were trying to ask her out on a first date or if you were just meeting her I'd agree. But she's had a crush on you for 4 years Naruto-kun. What she wants isn't to have you spend money on her. All she really wants is your attention and your time. Just tell her you picked the flowers yourself and they'll be more precious to her than a dozen roses. Really? Absolutely. When a girl is in love all she wants is for the boy to make a real effort for her. She looked over at Sasuke dreamily. They're lovely Naruto-kun. I'll treasure them. I guess Sakura was right. I'm really sorry I haven't been able to see you before this. Oh, I understand Naruto-kun. I'm just glad you're here now. A bit embarrassed he rubbed the back of his head. Well, you are my girl so of course I came as soon as I could. Her face took on a deep blush. I am. He put his arms around her and hugged her tight. You are, he told her. You are my girlfriend Hinata-chan, you belong to me now. You belong to me. Those words thrilled her. They made her heart race. The feeling of him holding her so possessively made her happy. Yes, she said. I belong to you Naruto-kun. With her head pressed against his chest she could not see the cold smile that came to his face when she said that. Hinata-chan, have you eaten lunch yet? No, she replied. Then let's go get something. Walking along the street hand in hand Naruto had loved the expressions he'd spotted on people's faces. Most of them seemed not to know whether to scowl or smile politely when they saw the Kyuubi walking with the Hyuga princess. He wanted very much to laugh in their faces but restrained himself. He kept his attention focused on her. He asked her about her recovery and the training she had been doing. He asked her about her family too and got a few details. Neji really doesn't know when to stop pushing his luck, Naruto growled over a bowl of miso ramen. Naruto-kun, she spoke over a bowl of shrimp ramen. Is it true you swore to kill him? That you swore an oath on my blood? Yeah it is, when I saw what he did to you I knew there was no way I could let him live. She looked down to hide the fresh blush on her face. She had always been ignored and made to feel completely unimportant. The idea that the boy she cared for would be ready to go this far just for her made her feel like a princess in a story. Naruto-kun, I really appreciate that you feel that way. But no matter how he's treated me Neji is still my cousin. Please don't hurt him. Naruto reached over and took one of her hands into his. He could feel her pulse racing. You're very sweet and very forgiving Hinata-chan, and that's one of the things I like about you. But I swore an oath, I won't go back on my word even for you. But. Seeing her becoming upset he decided he had to say something to comfort her a little. She's sweet but she needs to be a little tougher if she's going to be my woman. If Neji doesn't show up tomorrow I'll delay fulfilling my promise. That's as much as I can do. I don't think Neji will do that no matter what I say. Then he'll have to accept his destiny, he's good at that right? Hinata looked unhappy. Cousin or not, this guy doesn't deserve your mercy. I know, but I still don't want him to be hurt. I really believe we can be close one day. Silly girl, people aren't that forgiving. He is your enemy now and always. I'm sorry Hinata, but if I face him tomorrow I will kill him. Will you want to stop seeing me? She shook her head. No Naruto-kunai. I love you, and I want to be with you no matter what. He smiled at her. I love you too Hinata-chan. He leaned over and placed his chaste kiss on her cheek. She turned a deeper red and began to tremble. A second hook was now in place. The stadium was packed and the crowd was buzzing with excitement as the candidate waited down on the field. Did you have a good journey Lord Kazekage? Sarutobi asked as his guest took the seat beside him. Oh, not too bad, the Kazekage replied. I must say I am looking forward to the matches. The third nodded. Yes, this should be a very memorable day for all involved. Behind his veil the Kazekage chuckled. Of that I have no doubt at all. Hey. We're one short. Naruto said. He counted again and only came up with 9. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered. Didn't you hear? That Doso guy disappeared a few days ago. He did. Sakura asked. But I was supposed to fight him. What happens now? You will have a bye for the opening round, Genma the acting proctor informed her. You will then face the winner of the match between Temari and Shikamaru. The rules for this round are the same as for the preliminaries, you will all fight a series of 1-to-1 matches until we have a final winner. Keep in mind that to be promoted to Chunin you do not have to win the tournament, you don't even necessarily have to win a match. Promotion is decided by the scores from a series of judges, impress them with your skills and you'll earn yourself a vest. As in the preliminaries, a match ends when someone is dead, unconscious, yields, or if I declare they cannot continue. I will try to prevent any unnecessary slaughter but don't count on my intervention. Surrender the moment you feel you are defeated. Now the first match will be between Gaara and Kabuto. The two of you remain here, the rest of you please go to the observation deck. Actually sir, Kabuto raised his hand. I'd like to forfeit. All eyes went to the silver-haired teen. Gaara's eyes were especially hostile. What did you say? Genma demanded. I'd like to forfeit, Kabuto repeated. After seeing what my opponent is capable of I'm afraid I'd have no chance against him. I'm sorry. If that was how you felt you might have mentioned this a little sooner and allowed us time to reshuffle the matches. Sorry, Kabuto put his head down. What a way to start. That Gaara kid looks ready to commit murder too. With no choice Genma took a deep breath. Kabuto has chosen to forfeit the opening match, the winner is Gaara of the Sand. Not surprisingly a loud series of boos rained down. The crowd was not only upset at being denied its entertainment and having its bets made void, it didn't appreciate the shameful sight of a leaf ninja walking away without even trying to fight. I see the crowd does not like such a blatant show of cowardice, the Kazekage mentioned. Though given his opponent I can well understand it. The Hokage frowned, he was more than a little embarrassed. I am sure the other ninja of my village will prove more courageous. Let us hope so, otherwise this will be a frightfully short event. Genma looked over at Naruto and Neji. Do you two feel like fighting? Certainly, Neji announced. Wouldn't miss it, Naruto said. Genma nodded in relief. All right, the rest of you get taught at observation deck. Good luck Naruto-kun. Sakura said as she left. I think you should know that unless you forfeit you're going to die, Naruto said. Actually you're going to die no matter what you do, but if you quit you'll live a while longer. Is that supposed to scare me? Neji asked with a smirk. Hinata pleaded with me all night and this morning to forfeit. She claimed she was trying to protect me, but the truth is obvious. You convinced her to beg me, didn't you? You realize you have no chance of defeating me and getting me to yield is your only hope. Naruto began to snort and then laugh. Is that what you think? Here's news flash Neji, the last thing I wanted was for you to forfeit. The only reason I even suggested it is because Hinata really is trying to protect you. If you think I'm the one in danger here you really are either deluded or just a fool. Each and every one of us has a fate that was decided the moment we were born. It's a destiny that cannot be averted whatever we do. That's fine, Naruto said. Keep spewing all that crap about destiny and fate. I already told you what your fate was. There is no way a low-born piece of garbage like you could ever hope to defeat one like me. You have about as much chance of that as you do of really being Hokage one day. Naruto smiled. Finally something we can both agree on. If you two have had enough, let's start this match, Genma said and brought his hand down. Begin. Neji activated his Byakugan and dropped into a Jyoken fighting stance. Meanwhile Naruto performed a jutsu, pouring a lot of chakra into it. As he did so he grimaced in pain, the mark at the base of his neck was throbbing. The arena floor was momentarily hidden by smoke. As the smoke cleared, 100 clones appeared and had Neji surrounded. A single Naruto, presumably he original, was standing about 100 yards away. Neji looked at the clones with his Byakugan. With his blood limit active he was able to note that chakra within each clone. He was a bit surprised at what he was seeing. At the preliminaries he had observed the Kagebunshin's Naruto had created to defeat Kiba. Those had all had an equal amount of chakra pulsing through an artificial chakra system. These clones however were different. They lacked a chakra system and instead had a significant amount of chakra stored in their chest cavities. As the clones began closing in on him he smiled. Even if these were slightly altered he could easily handle them. Your Kagebunshin's are no match for me, loser. No matter how many you make. As one came in striking distance he hit its shoulder with his palm. The instant he struck the clone exploded. Boom. Neji was thrown to the ground and screamed. Where his right hand had been there was now nothing but a burned stump. As he was down the other clones all piled on and grabbed a hold of him to make sure he could not get away. Hey Neji, the original Naruto called out. Whoever said they were Kagebunshin's? These are Bakahatsukibunshin's. Exploding clones. Guy shouted and turned to Kakashi. You taught your student a forbidden technique. I didn't teach him that, Kakashi said. Naruto, where on earth did you learn that jutsu? Up in his seat the Kazekage leaned forward. Now this was proving interesting. In the stands Hinata and Kiba watched. Hinata closed her eyes knowing what was about to happen. I'm sorry Neji. With 100 clones holding him down and only one hand there was nothing Neji could do. Guess it's time for you to meet your destiny, Naruto said. With one hand he waved while wearing a big smile. Bye, bye. Kaboom. The entire stadium shook as the equivalent of 1,000 explosive detonated. People covered up as dirt and bits of material rained down on them throughout the stands. When the explosion and smoke died away there was a crater 20 feet across and 15 feet deep left scorched into the earth. The crowd stared down in stunned silence. They could hear the footfalls as Naruto was already walking away to join the other candidates. They were too stunned, and too frightened to make a sound. Walking away he refused to look up at the crowd or acknowledge them in any way. For him their silence was a second victory. He knew they would never love him, but maybe now they would finally start to fear him. Magnificent, the Kazekage whispered. He was actually trembling with excitement. He looked over Tate Hokage with a smile hidden beneath his veil. I had no idea you Leaf Nin could be so ruthless. I heartily applaud. This was not what I had hoped to see, Sarutobi said. Naruto, this is not the way of the Leaf, we don't kill our own for revenge. He had hoped Naruto would not actually choose to do it, that at the last moment he would choose mercy. But the boy had killed, and done so ruthlessly. For the first time Sarutobi began to seriously question just what was in the boy's heart. I will need to speak to him as soon as the exams are over. You know, I think I really want to see Naruto and Gaara fight, the Kazekage said. I think that would be quite interesting. Chapter 21, I am the Kyuubi. Bye, bye. Kaboom. Along with everyone else Hayashi watched as a massive explosion engulfed the stadium and shook its very foundations. He could do no more than watch as the smoke cleared to reveal nothing but a blackened crater and a victorious Uzumaki Naruto walking away with his head held high. His nephew, the genius, and pride of the Hyuga, was gone. Though his nephew had held hard feelings towards him and the main branch he had always hoped to one day tell him the truth and reconcile their differences. In his pocket was a message his dear brother had written just prior to his death. He'd brought it with him on the off chance the opportunity to present it to Neji might come up. He'd spent all these years waiting for a moment when his nephew might be willing to hear the truth and believe it. He took out the letter, the last thing his brother had ever written, and slowly ripped it to shreds. "Father, what happened?" Hanabi asked. She was staring uncertainly out at the smoking ground below. He looked at his youngest daughter with cool disdain, his own anguish well hidden. "Why do you ask such a ridiculous question when the answer is obvious? Neji is dead, his opponent was stronger and this is the result." But did he have to die? The little girl was clearly shaken. Of course she had been taught from the cradle that shinobi had to be ready to embrace death at any moment. It was something she thought she understood. But this was the very first time she had ever seen anyone die, and it was very different when it was someone you knew and saw regularly. "For a ninja, defeat often means death," Hayashi said coldly. "Learn this lesson well, Hanabi. We struggle to grow strong because in strength alone can we find safety. Burn this moment into your memory. Neji was strong, but he was still beaten. His death was caused by that failure." He came to his feet. "Come, Hanabi, I have no further interest in these exams." "What about the boy who killed Neji?" Hanabi asked. "What will happen to him?" "Nothing," Hayashi replied. "His actions may have been cruel but they broke no laws. And we Hyuga do not stoop to petty vengeance. Though I will not forget this." "He's powerful," Gaara whispered. Kankuro and Temari were looking at him nervously and slowly backing away from him. It was always a bad sign when he started talking to himself. As if suddenly noticing them, Gaara looked up at his two siblings. "I don't want to wait, Kankuro, Temari, forfeit your matches." "Sure Gaara, whatever you say." "That's fine, these matches are irrelevant anyway." Temari nodded. "Yes, of course, it's too bad, I would have liked to have fought." The thought of arguing with Gaara never crossed her mind. In the stands Tenten began to cry. "Kakashi! What was that?" A furious Might Guy shouted. "I know that you were a top assassin of the Black Ops, but that exactly have you been teaching your students? That was nothing less than murder. Careful what you say." Sasuke got up to his feet. "I didn't hear you get so righteous when Neji tried killing someone else's student. Do not speak to Guy-sensei like that." Though on crutches, Lee looked ready to fight. Neji did not deserve what happened to him. Neither did Hinata, Sasuke shot back. "That's enough, Sasuke," Kakashi said and put a restraining hand on his shoulder. "As for you Guy, I'm sorry for what happened to your student. But even if this is a tournament, the combat is real, we all understand the risks we have to take when we fight." "Is that your excuse, Kakashi?" Guy demanded. "What we witnessed just now had nothing to do with fighting. It was an assassination." "Actually it wasn't, and I can say that as an expert on the subject. When you assassinate you don't give your target a month's warning and then face them head-on in a fair fight. While I don't agree with what Naruto did just now, it was within the rules and spirit of the exams. Do you truly believe that, Kakashi, or are you just trying to protect your student? Does it make a difference, Guy? I had thought better of you, my eternal rival." "I don't think I'm acting any differently than you," Kakashi answered. "Right or wrong, Naruto is my student and I'll do whatever I have to protect him." Despite the destruction to the field, there was still plenty of room to fight. Genma called for the next match. "Kankuro, Shino, please come here." Actually, Kankuro called out. "I wish to forfeit." Temari immediately raised her hand. "I wish to forfeit my match as well." Hearing this, the stunned crowd finally came out of its haze and began to boo loudly. On the observation deck, Shino had a slight scowl while Sakura looked unhappy as well. "Fine by me," Shikamaru said. "I didn't want to fight a girl anyway." "Idiot. You're going to have to fight me," Sakura told him. "Troublesome," he muttered. The Sandaime turned to his guest in open puzzlement. "Your children are showing a surprising lack of resolve, especially given the fact that you are here to bear witness." The Kazekage sighed dramatically. "Very true, Lord Hokage, it is rather embarrassing. I suspect they fear running up against that Naruto, he is rather intimidating. That would not explain why they would forfeit now." Even if they forfeited later to avoid facing Naruto, they still might have earned promotion. It seems my children are not too concerned with becoming Chunin. Then why did they enter this exam in the first place? The Hokage wondered. On the bright side, we will get to see Naruto and Gaara fight all the sooner. What the hell is going on here? Genma thought furiously. Forfeiting before a finals match wasn't completely unheard of, but it was damn rare. And it never happened during the opening round matches. It happened later when a ninja was beat or out of chakra and knew he couldn't fight again. Having 3 forfeits in the opening round was unbelievable. All right then, Shikamaru and Sakura. No. Gaara shouted. I don't want to wait. He made a hand sign and disappeared in a swirl of wind and sand. Kankuro leaned over to his sister and whispered in her ear. Let's go find Baki. She quickly nodded her agreement and the two of them left. When Gaara materialized on the ground, Genma looked over at him with a frown. I haven't called you down yet, your opponent has already fought 1 match. You'll need to wait until Sakura and Shikamaru fight. No, Gaara said. I'm sick of waiting. I want to prove my existence, I want blood. Naruto had just gotten to the exit and had stopped to see what was happening. If you are not afraid, fight me now, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto shrugged and headed back to where the two of them were. That's fine by me, just gets you out of the way sooner. He had seen everyone else who was left fight. He was sure he would have a cakewalk with whoever he had to face after this. Gaara was the only real competition. I should warn you though, I'm going to win this tournament no matter what it takes. I could care less about this tournament, that's not what interests me. I want to kill you and prove my own existence. Really? Then I guess I'll have to kill you first then, Naruto replied with a cheery smile. Hold on a minute. Genma said. Your match is not up yet. And I'd like to remind you both that the goal here is just to win, not to kill your opponent. Even as he said that, the cork in Gaara's large gourd popped out and sand began to spill out and pool around his feet. The sand began to swirl and flow about like a living thing. Naruto meanwhile was approaching with a serious look in his eyes. Well, this is great. I can't make the matches I want take place and I can't force the matches I don't want not to. And if that's not enough, these two both look to be out for blood. Naruto, if you want time to rest I'll allow it, Genma said. I'm fine, he said. Let's begin. Looking at their faces, it was obvious they were going to fight with or without his sanction. Damn it, alright then, he lifted his hand over his head and brought it down. Begin. Gaara stood where he was, just as with his fight with Lee he disdained to even move. Naruto leapt back and formed hand signs, this shoulder aching as he drew out a large amount of chakra. Bakahatsutki Bunshin no Jutsu. As before, the stadium field was filled with smoke. When it cleared, there were 100 clones in a circle around Gaara, with a single Naruto a safe distance away. That won't work on me, Gaara said dismissively. The sand at his feet began to fire off in small shots in all directions. The small bolts of sand punched through the bunshins, detonating them, and then detonating all the others caught in the blast range. Boom, 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 one after another in a rapid series of explosions, the Bakahatsutki bunshins blew up, each with the force of 10 explosive notes. A few of the blasts came close to Gaara, the sand formed a protective sphere around him. When the last explosion faded away, the sand fell into a pile around his feet again. Gaara stood there still untouched. Is that all you have? Naruto smiled. Not even close, he began working a different set of hand signs. Kaze Sabata no Jutsu. He felt the throbbing pain and the seal seemed to be burning into his skin. He ignored it and focused on the jutsu. Before him the air solidified into 50 unseen blades. He sent them all for Gaara, intending to chop him up into dog meat. Gaara could not have seen the blades coming. Yet as they reached him, the sand became a wall stretching 10 feet into the air and 15 feet across. Naruto knew his blades could cut through wood and even stone with ease. A wall of sand should have been no match. Yet each wind blade shattered against the wall and vanished. The wall had to have the strength of tempered steel at least. When the last blade was gone, the wall dissolved back into a mound at Gaara's feet. My turn now, Gaara said. Huh. Naruto was caught by surprise as he felt something tug at his feet. He saw sand already up to his ankles quickly covering his body. How the hell? He'd kept a careful eye on Gaara's sand and was 100 yards away. I am Gaara of the desert, he said in that same ghastly voice. For me making sand is child's play so long as I have minerals to work with. And that includes the earth beneath your feet. He reached out and made a gesture as though he were grabbing something. Tsunarikyu. The sand completely covered his enemy. Oh no. Naruto-kun. Hinata gasped. Kakashi. He's going to. Sasuke was on his feet ready to leap out of the stands. I'm sorry Sasuke, but we can't interfere, Kakashi said and grabbed a hold of him. Sarutobi looked on fearfully, afraid of what was about to happen. The Kazekage was at the edge of his seat. The moment Naruto was killed he would launch Operation Destroy Konoha. Now you die, Gaara said and made a fist. Kiba Kusuna Tamure. The sand imploded and Gaara waited for the blood to burst out in a magnificent fountain. But no blood came. Instead Gaara began to feel power. Power and an immense amount of hate and killer intent. Is that all you have? An inhuman voice mocked from within the compacted sand. With that the sand exploded. Once it was clear, everyone got a clear view of Naruto. His body was surrounded by red chakra. And the chakra had 5 tails connected to it. Naruto did not look human. Along with red eyes and claws and fangs, his snout had been pushed out giving him a bestial appearance. His hair was no longer blonde but red and covered him completely including his face and arms. Upon his fur could be seen a series of black lines extending out from a spot on his neck and shoulder. He seemed a perfect monster. Just the sight of him was enough to send the civilians in the stadium into a mass panic. As they struggled to get away, sound ninja hidden in their midst were trying to decide whether to remain in the stadium or follow the crowd out. The signal had yet to be given and so they could not reveal themselves. The ninja in the crowd could all sense Naruto's chakra, both its immensity and the evil taint it carried. All of them waited for orders from their Hokage. The Hokage was on his feet, every bit as horrified as the others seeing this. 3 Umbu in black cloaks appeared before him. Lord Hokage. What are your orders? We have 4 squads of Umbu standing ready as well as all the ninja in attendance. Shall we attack him? It wasn't what Sarutobi wanted, but what choice was there? The Kazekage was also on his feet. Lord Hokage, the match is not over yet. You want it to continue? Sarutobi said in disbelief. Gaara will not survive. Please allow it to continue, Lord Hokage. I give you my word I will not take offense should Gaara be killed. What kind of father is he? Sarutobi looked at the arena floor. If this was not handled correctly the entire village might just pay for it. He turned to his Umbu. Remain on standby for now, but be ready to follow me the instant I act. Gaara stood there feeling overwhelmed by the power and the killer intent being focused on him. He was afraid. What are you? Naruto stretched out a clawed palm and began to concentrate red chakra into a sphere. He felt great. Despite the physical changes and all the raw energy coursing through his body, he was completely in control. All this vast power was his to do with as he pleased. He felt like a god. I am the Kyuubi. He shouted out for all the world to hear. What did he say? A dazed Hinata asked. Kiba was pale. Poor Akamaru was already in his shirt whimpering and shaking. He said he was the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi? Sasuke said in disbelief. What is that dope talking about? I will explain later, Kakashi said. If we survive this. The Kyuubi, Sakura whispered. But he's just Naruto. Given what we are witnessing that would no longer seem to be the case, Shino said. Shikamaru turned to her. You can feel his chakra just like I can. Whatever he is, he's definitely not just Naruto anymore. No, I won't let you kill me. Gaara screamed. The sand swirled and covered his body. I won't let you end my existence. He too took on the appearance of a monster, a human-sized creature with huge arms and a single tail made of sand. Gaara was in a panic and not thinking straight. A full transformation was beyond him for the moment. Instead he screamed and ran towards Naruto in this form. I'll kill you. A dark Rasengan fully formed Naruto barked a laugh. You think you can kill me? Come and try. He raced at Gaara, the two monsters charging at each other, both wanting death. They both struck. Gaara sent a huge claw that was stronger than steel at Naruto's head. The sand shattered and broke as it his red chakra cloak. Laughing, Naruto plunged his Rasengan straight at Gaara's heart. The sand body hissed as it gave way. The sound changed to a wet smack when he reached flesh. Gaara gave a short sharp cry of surprise mixed with fear and pain. His blood poured out of the perfectly circular hole that had just been bored through his chest. The sand shivered and slipped off as Gaara's lifeless body fell. Naruto stood over the corpse and grinned down. Too easy. I really am the Kyuubi. No one can beat me. Naruto. The Hokage called. He looked up to see he was now surrounded by leaf ninja. There were at least 100 of them. And from each and every one he could smell fear. Naruto, the Hokage said again. The match is over, please release the chakra you have and return to your normal form. He's scared of me too. Naruto realized. That wasn't what he wanted. He wanted to earn the old man's respect, not make him afraid. That was for everyone else. Sure, old man, whatever you say. To the vast relief of all present, the chakra cloak shrank and disappeared. The red fur melted back to skin and his face once more became human. Last of all, the black lines faded and vanished except for the original mark at the base of his neck. Sarutobi nodded and took a deep breath. Naruto, please come with me, I want to bring you to Jiraiya so he can examine you. But what about the exams? They're not over yet. Among the crowd surrounding him were the 3 remaining candidates. Shino raised his hand. I forfeit. I forfeit, Shikamaru announced. I forfeit too, Sakura said. It seems the exams are over, now please come with me, Naruto. Sarutobi said. I did it. I won. With a happy smile he fell in beside the Hokage. Sure thing, old man. Despite being very clever at times, he had no idea just how much trouble he was now in. Alone now in the Hokage's box, the Kazekage rose to his feet and applauded. Ku wonderful Naruto-kun. With you at my side nothing would be impossible. He looked at his 2 guards. We are leaving now. We shall return to the hotel. The hotel, lord. One of the guards answered in surprise. But what of the operation? The Kazekage laughed. The operation is hereby aborted, unless you want to face Naruto-kun down there without the help of our own Jinchuriki. Not surprisingly, the 2 guards quickly shook their heads. The Kazekage looked at one of them. You go and talk to our friends outside the wall. It would be embarrassing if they did something even without a signal. The guard disappeared. The Kazekage looked back down at the stadium field. I would have loved to have taught you a lesson, old man. But Naruto-kun is more important than anything else now. Chapter 22, Consequences. The door to the room opened. Naruto watched in silence as the 3rd Hokage and Jiraiya entered. The Sannin had conducted a thorough examination on him and his seals in this same room and had then left without saying a word. That had been more than 2 hours ago. Before the Hokage could speak, Naruto beat him to it. Why am I a prisoner? He asked in clipped tones, trying very hard not to shout. Apparently his efforts weren't completely successful. Watch the attitude, kid. Jiraiya said sharply. You have no idea how much the old man has gone through just to protect you. Protect me? Protect me from what? Naruto demanded. Sarutobi put a restraining hand on his pupil's arm. You are not a prisoner, Naruto. Sarutobi spoke calmly. Then why is there a squad of Umbu at the door? Why did they tell me I wasn't allowed to leave here until you returned? Why am I here in Umbu headquarters to begin with? All of that was simply a precaution for your own safety. The Hokage replied wearily. He pulled out a chair and sat down. He really was an old man, much too old to be Hokage, to tell the truth. He could feel all of his years, every one of them. He wanted to retire and lay his burden down. But he couldn't do that until he had someone he could trust to replace him. He looked over at Jiraiya. Naruto was fuming at what he saw as his ill treatment. Why do I need protection? I just won the Chunin exams. I should be out celebrating and showing off my brand new vest. You're an idiot. Jiraiya shouted at him. Damn it, Minato, is this really your kid? How did the apple fall so damn far from the tree? You really have no clue the sort of trouble you're in, do you? Well, let me spell it out for you. Most of the village wants you dead. So? What else is new? Jiraiya stopped, the blasé attitude catching him totally off guard. Geez, what kind of childhood did this kid have? He really takes the village hating him this much for granted? This is different, Naruto, the weary Hokage replied. Not only are most of the civilians calling for your head, but many of my ninja, even most of the clan heads are now demanding it. Do you understand what you did today? Jiraiya asked. You openly proclaimed that you were the Kyuubi and promptly used 5 taels worth of its power. We had dignitaries and nobles from every country that hires ninja in the stands. The whole damn world is going to know who you are inside of a month. Good. He snapped. Let them all know who I am. It's not like keeping it a secret ever did me any good. Maybe now I'll finally get some respect. Is that what you're worried about? Getting respect? Listen, kid, that's the very last thing you need to be thinking about. A lot of the older ninja in this village faced the Kyuubi 12 years ago, and most of them lost friends and loved ones. Even with the Hokage's protection, some of them might just come after you. They would see it as a sacred duty to kill you before you can regain the Kyuubi's full power. Jiraiya told him. I am not even going to mention the little fact that you killed one of our most promising young ninja and the son of the Kazekage. Count yourself fortunate that Hayashi and the Kazekage both accepted those deaths, or you would be in even more trouble. And why should I get in trouble for killing them? Naruto demanded. Isn't it a law that the candidates can't be punished for anything that occurs during the exams? Did Neji get in any kind of trouble for almost killing Hinata? Kiba told me Gaara slaughtered 3 rain ninja even though they were helpless. Was he punished for that? Whatever they did, Naruto, they did not mercilessly kill before the eyes of the village and the entire world. Sarutobi said. But you are correct, your actions broke no law and so you will not be punished for them. Everything else you did is more than enough, Jiraiya said. And just what did I do that was so wrong? Naruto asked. Be powerful. Get stronger. Isn't that the message we get from the second we enter the academy? Wasn't the whole point of the exams to separate the strong from the weak? How many of those lords who saw me today will want to hire me? How much stronger is the village's reputation going to be now that everyone knows who I am? He looked at the Hokage with a wide smile. You don't need to worry, old man. When I'm Hokage, I'll make this village super powerful. And I'll give the people justice too. The justice they all deserve. The words and the look in his eyes sent a chill through Sarutobi's heart. Flashback. Orochimaru smiled at him. You have no reason to be concerned, Sarutobi-sensei. I promise you I will make this village the mightiest the world has ever seen and give the people true justice and order. Naruto, when you say justice I can only hear, revenge. Sarutobi said. Naruto's smile stayed as it was, but his eyes darkened. Isn't the difference between justice and revenge just a point of view? I know what the people are guilty of. He was sick of being treated like he was guilty of something. He was sick of being denied the same treatment everyone else got. And most of all, he was sick of being in this room. Without thought, he reached up and rubbed his shoulder. Is that seal bothering you, kid? Jiraiya asked. No, Naruto lied and dropped his hand to his side. Looking at the boy, Sarutobi could feel his heart sinking. All the illusions that had comforted him were being stripped away. Was he always like this? The Hokage wondered. He was sure that had not always been the case. He was absolutely certain the boy had possessed an open heart for most of the time he'd known him. When did it change? Could I have prevented it? Despite his best efforts, he knew Naruto had been unfairly treated by the people of his village. But even a Hokage was not a kami, there were limits as to how far even he could protect him. And as Hokage he had to do what was best for the village, not what was best for any single individual. Even when that was unjust. Hey old man, since I won the Chunin exams, when do I get my vest? Sarutobi looked directly at him. You won't be getting a vest, Naruto. What? Naruto said. But I won. I was the last one standing. I was the only one to even win a match at the finals. All of that is very true, Naruto. The Hokage said. But even so, I will not promote you. Naruto felt his heart begin to break. In his whole life, the old man was the only one who had ever cared about him. The only person who had ever truly mattered to him, and the only one he had ever wanted to please. His main goal throughout the exams had always been to impress the old man and make him proud. To hear those words now was a betrayal of everything he had believed in. How can you say that? I did what I was supposed to, I won. How can you deny me what I've earned? Naruto, becoming a Chunin is about more than raw power and the ability to kill. The Chunin are the mission leaders of the village. They are entrusted not only with the responsibility for carrying out dangerous missions but for looking out for the welfare of their teams. They are leaders. Sarutobi said. What I saw today has convinced me you are not fit to be Chunin even with your level of raw power. You proved yourself to be utterly reckless, you had no concerns for the consequences of your actions and cared only about the end result and how you would be affected. Did it even enter your mind how killing your opponents could weaken and harm the village? Before you unleashed the Kyuubi's might and proclaimed yourself, did you stop to consider the panic you might cause? Sarutobi shook his head sadly. I am very sorry, Naruto, but you do not possess the qualities necessary to safely lead others, so I cannot promote you. I see. He cast his eyes down. His hands were shaking and his teeth were slowly grinding. Of all the cruelties he had suffered, this was the worst, the most hurtful. The one he had always trusted was betraying him. He had won the exams, and he had earned promotion. Anyone else would have been automatically promoted. But not him. Once more he was being cheated because of who he was. And it was the old man who was doing it. He could make all the excuses he wanted, the fact was he had proven he deserved promotion. I would have done anything for you, old man, he thought bitterly. I'd have gladly given my life to protect yours. I thought of you as my real grandfather. I loved you. How could you betray me? I won't forgive you. Can I go home now? Naruto quickly wiped his eyes and asked. The pain in the boy's voice touched Sarutobi's heart. Of course, he answered. Go home and rest, I know it's been a difficult day. Jiraiya sent a questioning look at the Hokage. Can I have a word in private with you? At the Hokage's nod, Jiraiya leaned over to whisper in his ear. I thought you wanted me to fully seal the Kyuubi's chakra? Have you changed your mind? No, Sarutobi whispered back. Sealing that chakra was the only way to placate the clan heads and other ninja, they wouldn't accept anything less. But you said you would need several hours to research the proper counter with the curse seal also involved. Naruto can go home and come back tomorrow. Wouldn't it be safer to keep him here under guard until I'm ready? He is not a prisoner, Sarutobi whispered. He will remain an active duty ninja even after he is given the suppression seal. Hopefully without the Kyuubi's chakra to fall back on, he will no longer be under the delusion he is the Kyuubi and will learn to be a functioning ninja. I refuse to give up on him. They were both careful to keep their voices as low as possible. But neither of them realized that Naruto's hearing was advanced as were his other senses. He'd heard every word. Sarutobi stood and nodded. You can go home, Naruto. I will be sending a squad of Umbu to keep an eye on you to make sure there are no attacks by any of my ninja. I want you to return here tomorrow at 8 a.m. There are more things we will need to discuss. When Naruto looked up, his eyes were dry and there was a smile firmly in place. His eyes were empty. Sarutobi found nothing in them he could read. Hi Hokage-sama. Naruto's tone was so polite and formal Sarutobi was not sure if it was meant to be serious or mocking. Naruto left without another word or look back. Chapter 23, I'll always be your friend. By the time they let him go it was early evening. The sun was down and there were people on the street hurrying home or off to get dinner somewhere. Naruto walked slowly right down the middle of the street. People gave him a wide berth, or better yet turned around the second they spotted him. One important-looking fellow stopped right in Naruto's path and smugly stood there with his arms crossed. Naruto looked at him, and gave him a slow smile. The man visibly paled, and suddenly decided he needed to be somewhere. Naruto didn't give the idiot much of a thought. If he'd been one of the endless stream who had cursed him or slapped him or thrown something at him as a child, he wouldn't have been surprised. It was amazing how the same people who had thought nothing of abusing him when he was helpless were oh so careful around him now. Was the difference due to a change of heart? Had they reflected on their actions and wanted to change? Naruto let out a loud snort of laughter that made some people flinch. The only difference was that they all knew he finally had access to the power that was locked inside him. That was the only difference, the fact he had power. And now the old man was set to take that away from him. Like I would ever let that happen. I can't believe Minato's son turned out like that. Jiraiya said. How disappointed Minato would be. You are certainly right, the Hokage admitted. But his disappointment would not be limited to only Naruto. What do you mean, old man? Minato gave his life to save this village, and his dying wish was that his son be recognized as a hero. Yet they villagers have never seen him that way. Their fear and sorrow have always colored their view of him. Though he was an innocent child, he was made to answer for the Kyuubi's actions. And though I tried, I was never able to give him the sort of life he deserved. I was never able to really protect him from the village's wrath. Don't feel too bad, old man, you did your best, Jiraiya said sympathetically. I did, Sarutobi said and gave his former student a searing glance. Can you say the same? What? You were Naruto's godfather, by all rights Naruto should never have been an orphan. He should have been raised by you. What are you talking about, old man? Do I look like a father figure to you? And anyway, I had important work to do. Every elite ninja in this village has important work of one sort or another. However, none of them have been absent from the village for a full 12 years. Sarutobi spoke in a stern tone. Let's be honest, Jiraiya, you could have performed your duties and lived here like everyone else. You chose to stay perpetually on the road, always following one lead or another, always on the track of some new important source of information. Any excuse to stay away. I was trying to find Orochimaru. That snake can vanish into thin air while standing in front of you. I had to do whatever I could just to keep finding a few faint traces. And it had nothing at all to do with avoiding your responsibility to the Yondaime. You were his godfather, Jiraiya. You accepted that responsibility of your own free will. When Minato died, I am sure he believed you would watch out for his son. But you never even tried to. You never even met his son until I forced you to examine him. If Minato would be disappointed in Naruto's behavior, how much more disappointed do you think he would be with yours? Jiraiya stood there gaping at the Hokage, looking rather like an overgrown child being scolded. Where the hell is this coming from? Perhaps it is just the reaction of a foolish old man who has finally been forced to acknowledge his mistakes. I acknowledge that I made many mistakes with Naruto. But I will not allow you to stand there and judge him while acting as if your hands were clean. I at least tried, Jiraiya, you failed to do even that. So what gives you the right to condemn the boy for his behavior when you never saw the abuse he had to endure? You may be a master spy, but you know nothing about your own godson or what his life has been like. Be disappointed in him if you like, but be more disappointed in yourself. Jiraiya stood there trying to hide the sudden shame. I didn't know how to be a father, he admitted quietly. And I don't think I could have borne seeing him back then. He would have reminded me too much of Minato. Sarutobi nodded wearily, he was very tired. I know, but you could have tried. Jiraiya said nothing. This has been a long day, go and work on the suppression seal. I am going home to get some sleep. Naruto stepped inside Ichiraku's and sat down at his favorite stool. Two customers who were already there immediately put down some money and got out. Teiuchi and Ayame both looked at him nervously. People are so damn disappointing. I just wanted to get something to eat, Naruto said. If you want me to leave. Don't be silly, Naruto. The old cook shouted. Sit down and I'll make you some of your favorite miso ramen in honor of you winning the exams today. That's right. Ayame said. You are our favorite customer after all. They were both scared, he knew that from their sense. But they welcomed him anyway. I guess they really are good people. I'm glad. Thanks, he said quietly. He was actually pretty ravenous, so he had a couple big bowls of miso ramen and enjoyed the simple comfort of being with people who accepted him. As he ate, a few other people arrived at the stand only to turn right around as soon as they spotted him. Teiuchi and Ayame made no comment about the lost business. They talked with him about the exams without ever bringing up the Kyuubi or asking him about the actual matches themselves. It was a pleasant conversation. As he ordered a third bowl, he picked up a familiar scent approaching the stand. As the person arrived, he looked over his shoulder at him. "Hey Sasuke." "Hey Naruto." The boy came over to sit next to him. Naruto was very surprised that there was no fear scent on him. He smelled of worry and a little exhaustion, but not of fear. "You hungry? Have some ramen with me, I'll even treat." "You treat? Hey, it's a special occasion. It's not every day a guy wins the Chunin exams and gets to feel the love of his home village." Teiuchi and Ayame flinched at that. Sasuke gave no outer reaction. "I'll have a bowl of shrimp ramen please," he said to Ayame before turning back to Naruto. "So is it true? What you said during the final match?" "What? You mean about me being the Kyuubi?" Naruto said gleefully. "Do you think I'd have had that kind of raw power if I wasn't? Or that I would have gotten such a lavish greeting from the Hokage and everyone else? Yeah, I'm the Kyuubi Sasuke. That bastard the Yondaime couldn't kill the Nine Tails, so instead he sealed him into a newborn baby, me." "But you're not really the Kyuubi, are you?" Sasuke insisted. "I mean, if you seal a kunai into a scroll, the scroll is still a scroll, not a kunai." "I'm the Kyuubi," Naruto insisted cheerfully. "If you doubt it, ask any adult who was living here during the attack. Trust me, they'll be more than happy to tell you I'm a monster." "You're not the Kyuubi," Sasuke said with absolute certainty. "There's no way the great demon fox wouldn't be able to make a decent bunshin." Naruto burst out laughing. The two teammates sat next to one another and ate. Naruto was in a surprisingly good mood. It was like Ichiraku's was his one safe haven in the middle of a storm. Nothing was going to change. As soon as he left, he would have to deal with all the shit that was his life. But for just this little while he could honestly relax. "You know, if I were going to have a last meal, it would always be ramen at this place. I wouldn't want anything else." "Why do you bring up something like that?" Sasuke asked. "Well, maybe you didn't notice, some people don't like me much. Who can say what might happen? That's not just true for you, that's true for every ninja." "Yeah," Naruto admitted. "But maybe it's just a little more true for me." "Don't worry about it, you've got me and Sakura and Kakashi to watch your back." "What? You still want to be teammates with me?" Naruto said in surprise. "I would have thought you and Sakura would be pleading for a replacement by now." Smack. "Ow. Hey, what the hell did you hit me for?" Naruto began to rub the back of his skull. "I thought you'd stopped being an idiot, but I guess once a dobe always a dobe." Sasuke sounded genuinely annoyed. "Me, Sakura, and Sensei have been looking for you since we heard you were released from Umbu headquarters. We're all worried about you and want to make sure you're okay. We're a team and we have to watch out for each other. And since we're friends too, we have to make doubly sure you're alright. You sure you want to be friends with the Kyuubi?" "No, but you're not the Kyuubi and I am friends with you, dobe." "Thanks Teme," Naruto replied. Unable to resist, he glomped onto Sasuke, affectionately imitating one of his fangirls. "Sasuke-kun li ikes me? Let go of me before I have to kill you, dobe." Having finished his bowl, Sasuke got up to leave. "Since you're alright, I'm heading home now. I'll see you tomorrow." "No you won't," Naruto said. Something in that reply made Sasuke stop in his tracks. "What do you mean?" "The Hokage wants to meet with me tomorrow. It'll probably be an all-day thing." "Naruto, are you okay?" He gave him a slow nod. "Yeah, I think I am." "Sasuke." Naruto hesitated. Whatever happens, I'll always be your friend." Sasuke had one of his smirking grins. "And I'll always be yours, dobe." Feeling relieved, the Uchiha left to return home. Having finished his own meal, Naruto got up as well. "Thanks Teiuchi-san, Ayame-chan, you two really are good people. Thank you not just for all the great food but for being nice to me over the years when no one else was. He took out his frog purse Gama-chan and opened it, dumping out all the money he had on him, then tossing the purse. Ayame's eyes boggled at all the money. Naruto, what are you doing? He gave them both formal bows. It's just a tip for services rendered, goodbye. It was 2 in the morning. He was in his apartment. He hadn't gotten even a wink of sleep. He had all his ninja gear ready and a rough idea of where he would go. At the moment he was just sitting at the rickety table where he ate all his meals, staring at a photo. It was a picture of Team 7, Kakashi had insisted on taking it the day after they'd passed. Glancing at the clock he saw the time. Well, no point putting this off anymore. He placed the photo face down on the table. He then removed his leaf Hittite and put it next to the photo. Returning to his apartment he had picked up the scents of 4 ninja. He hadn't spotted them but their scents had followed him the last half-mile home and had remained there ever since. They would of course be the Umbu the Hokage had detailed to keep him safe. As though the Kyuubi would need anyone to protect him. It was finally time for him to go. He felt the seal on his shoulder begin to throb as he worked hand signs. Bakahatsutki Bunshin no Jutsu. The Umbu guarding him all stiffened as they felt a massive amount of chakra coming from his apartment. The door burst open and dozens of clones rushed out and approached their hiding spots, at least 7 or 8 came at each of them. Acting on instinct the Umbu defended themselves, taking out the clones. Boom. 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 As they were taken out they detonated and set off the others close by. All 4 Umbu died in massive explosions. People woke up with shouts and cries, looking out shattered windows to see fires raging on building rooftops. Many of them also witnessed some of the couple hundred exploding clones that were spreading out through the village. As people shouted to each other and wondered what was happening, more explosions could be heard. As confusion spread, no one noticed as a solitary figure headed in a direction different from all the others. Hinata woke as she heard a tapping from her bedroom window. When she looked up she gasped. She tossed aside her blankets and ran to open the window. Naruto-kun. What are you doing here? With a smile he slid into her bedroom. Sorry Hinata-chan, but there's something really important I need to ask you. Chapter 24, With Me or Against Me. Hokage-sama. Hokage-sama. Though an old man well into his 70s, the third Hokage was still a ninja and came fully awake at the first shout. He was in his feet and ready for an attack as the door to his bedroom burst open and a pair of Umbu knelt before him. What is going on here? What has happened? He well knew that for his sleep to be disturbed like this there had to be some sort of emergency. Lord Hokage. The village is under attack. I see, so Orochimaru has finally made his move. I had suspected something might occur during the exams but it seems he chose to wait until now. Lord Hokage, Orochimaru is not the one attacking the village, one of the Umbu replied. Then who? My Lord Hokage, the village is being attacked by Uzumaki Naruto. Hiruzen Sarutobi stood there too shocked to reply. In the distance he heard the echo of an explosion. It's so beautiful. One of his clones was sitting atop the third Hokage's section of the monument. From here he had a perfect view of the explosions and fires that were going off all over the village. He had especially enjoyed watching a big explosion that had leveled the Ninja Academy. Many of his other clones had hit restaurants and stores that had denied him service. It was a petty sort of revenge but he would take what he could get. He wouldn't go after the well-protected targets, Umbu headquarters, the Hokage mansion, or the tower. But it was okay, what he was hitting would be enough to fill the village with panic and make his point. With a smile on his lips he detonated himself. The massive stone face of the third Hokage fell, bringing down a landslide and crushing dozens of buildings and their helpless inhabitants. What do you need to ask me? Hinata asked. She was dressed in a long flannel nightgown that covered her completely, but having him in her bedroom like this made her very nervous. He was looking at her with his usual cheerful face. Will you leave the village with me? Leave the village? Naruto, what are you talking about? It's exactly what I just said, Hinata-chan. I'm leaving the village tonight and I want to know if you'll come with me. Naruto, is this one of your pranks? If it is, it's not funny, especially not after what happened to you today. I was really worried about you. I was afraid something was going to happen to you. Something is happening to me, Hinata-chan. I'm leaving the village and going rogue. Naruto she cut off as he placed a single finger on her lips. Shhhhhh, come to the window and listen. He took her hand, brought her over. He then stood behind her and wrapped his arms about her chest. Listen close and tell me what you hear. She couldn't believe he was in her room late at night with his arms wrapped around her. It was hard for her to concentrate on anything else but that. But after a moment she made herself listen. She could make out a dull series of booms. Are those explosions? That's right, Hinata-chan, he whispered in her ear playfully. I'm using my explosive clones to blow up places all around the village. What? She pulled out of his embrace and faced him, horror on her face. Are you serious? Her reaction killed the smile on his face. Trust me, Hinata-chan, I've never been more serious in my entire life. But why? Why would you do that? Why? You seriously have to ask. Naruto, please lower your voice. She whispered urgently. If anyone hears you'll be in big trouble. He laughed. Hinata, didn't you hear what I just said? I am blowing up parts of the village even as we stand here. I am killing people. Do you think being caught in your bedroom worries me? If anyone comes in here I'll just kill them. Naruto. She gasped. Oh come on Hinata, don't be so shocked. You know how I've been treated by the people of this place, and you know I'm a monster. Is it surprising I would finally strike back? Naruto, you're not a monster. Of course I am. I'm the Kyuubi. Ask anyone, ask your father, I'm sure he'll tell you so. You're not a monster, Naruto. After what happened in the exams, the law about hiding what happened to you was lifted. Some of the elders told me about what happened, how the Yondaime sealed the Kyuubi into you. What happened to you wasn't your fault and you are not the Kyuubi even if he is a part of you. Is that how your father feels? Flinching, she looked away. No. He sees me as a monster. No, but he feels you need to be monitored from now on for the safety of the village. He said your demonic chakra would be sealed up from now on and you would not be allowed to leave the village again. Hinata was not aware that the Hokage had refused this second condition. So they're going to strip me of my power and make me a prisoner? Why am I not surprised? Maybe they'll build me a cage and charge people admission to see me. He shook his head in disgust. I'll never let that happen, I'd rather die. I won't let them use me. It's obvious the only way they'll ever accept me is as a monster. That's fine though, I'll gain power and come back someday. I know I'll be a monster in their eyes, but I'll make them all acknowledge me the strongest. I'll become Hokage even if every last person in this place hates me. He looked straight into her eyes. Even you. Naruto, I could never hate you. Of course you will. He said bitterly. You can make all the stupid promises you want, but the bottom line is that while I'm away everyone will tell you I'm a monster and sooner or later you will believe them. You'll just end up hating me like everyone else. He turned his back to her and stepped up onto the windowsill. Goodbye, Hinata. Wait. Don't go. Please. She grabbed onto his sleeve with both hands, desperate to hold onto him. I'm going, Hinata. I'm leaving. But I'll come back one day, I'll come back to rule this place. He looked at her. She was trembling, tears were running down her cheeks. He held out his hand to her. Come with me. But. So you don't really love me, he said sadly. He lowered his hand. I do. Naruto-kun, I have been in love with you for years. You are the most important person in the whole world to me. Then prove it, come with me, Hinata-chan. Come with me and I promise I'll never ever let you go. You'll always be at my side, as my girl, and someday as my wife. Wife. Of course, he said with a small grin. Who else would I want but the girl who supported me through everything? The girl who proved her love for me when it really mattered. If you come with me now we will never ever be apart again, you'll be mine now and forever. But only if you come with me and do whatever I need you to. Otherwise I won't want you. You are either with me or against me, there is nothing in between. You have to choose, Hinata, me or everything else. He held out his hand to her once more. Which is it? She looked at his hand. Will you really marry me someday? Yes, it's a promise. I'll make you my wife, and when I come back here someday you'll be the Hokage's wife. I want to be with you Naruto-kun, more than anything. I'll come with you. Reaching out she placed her hand into his. You belong to me now, he said. Taking her hand he pulled her up easily into his arms. He leapt away from the Hyuga mansion with her neatly in his arms. Wait. I'm not dressed. I don't have my gear or even my sandals. Don't worry about any of that Hinata-chan, he told her as he raced toward the outer wall. His escape worked pretty much as he'd expected it to. All the available ninja on duty were called in to deal with the emergency in the village itself. Naruto was able to swiftly run up the side of the wall and leap over. As he did so he took a final look back. In the distance he could see more than a dozen fires burning. They would finally understand that he wasn't their plaything anymore, he didn't belong to them. He knew this would be his last look at Konoha for many years, but he would return one day. I'll come back someday and make every last one of you kneel to me. I swear it. And that includes you too, old man. Naruto-kun, where are we going? Rain Country, at least for now, he said. They don't have an extradition treaty with Fire and they've been recruiting Nuke Nin for a while now. They'll accept anyone who is willing to serve as a Rain Nin. Racing through the forests north of Konoha he skidded to a sudden halt and placed Hinata on her feet. Get behind me Hinata. He stood protectively in front of her. What's wrong Naruto? Ku, laughter rang through the forest. I did say we would meet again didn't I Naruto-kun? From out of the ground a very pale man emerged. As they watched four ninja leapt down to either side of him. Orochimaru, Naruto growled. So you want more of what I gave you in the forest of death? Watch your mouth punk. Any of the other four ninja yelled at him. Oh it's quite alright Yukon, Naruto-kun is very special to me. After all I've already given him a special gift. What the hell do you want? Naruto demanded. To help you, Orochimaru giggled. You have abandoned your village, and done so in rather spectacular style. You are a missing nin who will be hunted down with all the resources available to the Leaf Village. Given who and what you are Naruto-kun they will never ever stop chasing you. They can come after me as much as they want. I'll kill every last one of them. And what about the girl? He asked pleasantly. You are Hyuga Hinata I believe. Hinata shivered as his reptilian eyes fell to her. Never mind who she is. Naruto snapped. She's with me, that's all you need to know. Do you think they'll let her go either? They will certainly want to recover her, or failing that eliminate her. Anything would be better than allowing a rogue Hyuga run wild at your side. Can you keep her safe? I'll kill anyone who threatens her, he said flatly. Even if he happens to be a Sunin. Oh I'm not the Sunin you need to worry about. If I were you I'd be much more worried about Jiraiya. He will certainly be coming after you, I on the other hand could offer you my most generous assistance and protection. And why would you do that? Because you and I want the same thing, revenge on Konoha and on the third Hokage. With my resources and your power anything would be possible. Join me Naruto-kun and I will give you all the things you hunger for, wealth, power, and recognition. In the Sound Village you will receive the sort of treatment a man of your unique talents deserves. I don't trust you, Naruto stated. Of course not, I'm not very trustworthy. But I am a man who can deliver what he promises. Come with me and I will provide you a safe haven where you can learn and grow stronger without worrying about hunter nins. I can also help you gain greater access to the power inside you. Now doesn't that sound better than constantly being on the run? Naruto slowly thought it over. If you try anything with me or Hinata I will kill you. And so we're clear I won't serve you the way I did the Hokage. So don't ever think you can give me orders like a regular ninja. I am sure we will be able to come to some sort of mutually acceptable arrangement. Orochimaru promised with a greasy smile. They came to an uneasy agreement, with both of them thinking they would get the better of the other. That's it for part 3. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video.